Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cup Council. How are we all? Hopefully, all of you are having a fantastic Tuesday, wherever we are around the world. Hopefully, everyone's good and happy, because Liverpool off or coming off a wing against West Ham, which again, obviously in the grand scheme of things, doesn't necessarily mean anything because again, Liverpool are in such a bad place. But on the face of it, again, hopefully will be the kickstart to a turnover. Hopefully, but how are we, chat? Hopefully everyone's good. Hopefully everyone's well. I thought we'd do a live match preview show. We haven't done one for a while. I think probably maybe Burnley earlier on in the season potentially. Again, I'm not too sure. But again, how are we, chat? Hopefully everyone's good. Hopefully everyone's well and had a good Tuesday. But yeah, we're going to obviously talk about Liverpool Sunderland tomorrow at Anfield, 8:15 in the evening. Which, look, I think to be awfully honest, though, obviously the next 2 days is pretty much what the Boxing Day fixtures would be, basically. But we have got football thick and fast coming up because again, Liverpool have Sunderland and then Leeds away then next week, and then into Milan this time next week as well. So obviously the games are coming up thick and fast in the busy Christmas period. But yeah, obviously we hope Liverpool can obviously kickstart now December with more consistent performances, and of course obviously the results matching the performances as well anyway. But big up to Cal as well, saying which game do I watch tonight? Either watch City win, Spurs get battered, or Everton get battered. Well, I'd probably say Spurs Newcastle because it's probably going to be the most competitive game out of the three, I would say, most likely. But I think the two half sevens, I'd probably watch City over the Ev, because who have the Ev got? Bournemouth, is it? But yeah, again, hoping for a Bournemouth win, really, in that game, or even a draw. But nevertheless, how are we, chat? Hopefully everyone's good. But what else do we have? I agree, maybe as well. Yeah, I'd say it's probably got the most competitive edge around it, of course, as well. Evening guys, turned a corner or just a poor West Ham? Well, that's the $1 million question, isn't it? At the minute, I think, of course, yeah, we could turn around and go, oh, it was such a good performance from Liverpool, and Liverpool did certain things correct, and so on. But let's be perfectly honest, West Ham are very, very poor. But I think there are some things you can take from the game. I think obviously we mentioned it in the post match, but I think you can talk about the likes of Florian Wirtz. I thought he had an excellent performance. Obviously, Alexander Isak getting off, his league goal scoring form now for Liverpool. And I also think Joe Gomez was a massive shining light around the game. I think us having a fullback that can actually, that's actually a fullback, or actually a defensive person in that position. Again, it was it was a very good thing to watch, and actually have somebody there that can play the role. But yeah, obviously, look, we've had to put Szoboszlai there. We've had to put Curtis Jones there. It was just nice seeing Joe Gomez there. I'm not going to lie. But Liverpool will edge this 1-0. Isak scores again. We'll take it, really. But it's going to be a difficult game. Let's not hide around that fact. Look, Sunderland are a very, very good team. And they are a very, very good team. I think a lot of people was about 50-50 on them at the start of the season. I know that, of course, a lot of them had Sunderland going down. A couple of people had them staying up out of all the newly promoted sides. But look, they have done an extremely good job. And look, so far in the Premier League, where I think they're six, is it at the minute? Yes, six in the table. Of course, Liverpool win, Liverpool go over Sunderland as well. So hopefully that will be obviously the right road in the direction. But even looking at the league table, we'll quickly look at it in a moment. But when you do look at the table, it's such a weird table, and let's not lie around it. I'll quickly get it for you guys now, so we can all see it together. But looking at this, it's so frustrating because Liverpool, like on the paper or on the side of things, Liverpool are only 9 points off of Arsenal, which is crazy to think considering how bad we've had, or how bad we have had over the last 6-7 weeks. It's been pretty awful. Like let's not lie around it. Liverpool have had more defeats this season than what we've had to endure over the last 2-3 seasons, and that's the the real frustration around this season is the fact that if we didn't lose so many games, we'd still be in the conversation around the title and around what could have happened this season if we had turned things around. But now it is obviously pure pure top 4 race or top 5 race, however you want to interpret that. But the fact that we are only 3 points off of the top 4 is still ridiculous for the fact that Liverpool have lost so many games this season. But again, like I said, mentioned to Sunderland, fair play to them, as you guys can see. But they, 6th place on 22 points. They've done a fantastic job, and it's not like they haven't faced any hard competition. Again, they played Arsenal, and they drew. Yeah, they drew 2-2, wasn't it? So they've had difficult games this season. But actually taking a quick look at that and taking a look at Liverpool and Sunderland, the last time we both played each other did end in a draw. If you guys can see, hopefully on screen, so I can get it up. To be fair, 2 of the last 3 games involving Sunderland and Liverpool both ended in 2-2 draws. Obviously, we are talking about 2016 and 2017. But the way Liverpool are playing, it's kind of like that at the moment. But yeah, as you guys can see, but they're 2-2 draw back in January 2017. Liverpool then went 2-0 in the November, but in February again drawing 2-2 to Sunderland. But that's going, obviously nearly 10 years ago. So, of course, 2 completely different teams. But it's been that long since we've played Sunderland. It'll be a proper game. In terms of, again, their style. We know how they'll probably end up playing the game tomorrow. Of course, it will be, again, compact defense. Obviously, long balls, corners, set pieces, that type of game. And I think the big question mark for Liverpool, mainly, in my opinion, I know plenty of people will have the same type of opinion around the whole situation. Does Mo Salah miss out again? And that's the big question, I think, at the moment, isn't it, chat? I think, does he miss out again on not being in the team? We know Mo leaves on the 15th of December. That is the last game. I think the Brighton game is the last game that he will feature in for Liverpool until he comes back from AFCON, which, it's a question mark now of, do Liverpool put him back into the team? We know Arne Slot said today that, there was a bit of confrontation there between, Mo Salah not liking the fact that he missed out and didn't play at all against West Ham. But, I think Arne Slot kind of calmed the situation down and said, like, you've played so many games over the last couple of weeks, take you out the firing line, and then, of course, we'll reevaluate. But I think a lot of people have said, does he get back into the team now? Because Liverpool looked against West Ham a lot more complete in terms of defending, in terms of overall looking probably a bit better. And look, it's hard to speak about Mohamed Salah at the moment, isn't it? Because none of us want to realistically, trash on him, because it's Mohamed Salah. Mohamed Salah on the football pitch has been unbelievable for Liverpool over the last decade. But it's beginning to have those question marks now at the minute that, at the moment, we are looking better defensively. But I do think that's a factor down to also having Joe Gomez behind you. I think, obviously, not having a right back or not having a defensive-minded player, but I do think Liverpool have lacked a little bit over the last couple of weeks. But I think with Joe Gomez potentially behind Mohamed Salah, could be a bit better. But I think when we did see Dom on the right as well, Liverpool, in terms of pressing, in terms of defending and the defensive shape, I think personally Liverpool looked a bit better than what we have done. But again, that was against West Ham. It'll be interesting to see kind of in this game where it's going to be a bit more physical. And probably Liverpool sometimes will be a bit more on the counter, considering, the situation. Again, whether or not we do see Mohamed Salah is another question. But we could suffer, again, similar to like we did in the Forest game, where we just got bypassed on the right-hand side. Then the midfield is, all over the place. And then we end up conceding and are not very good in certain structures then. And it could end up being the same with Mo Salah, being a part of the team. Right now, am I going to say he starts? I think so. I think he will come back in. I do think Liverpool will bring him back in. I think Arne Slot will inject Mo Salah back into the team. But if he wasn't in the starting 11, I also wouldn't be surprised. And that's, that's sad to say, but also I could see it, and I could really see it. I don't know whether you guys could as well. But for me, does Mohamed Salah come back into the team? Yes. But like I said, I would not be surprised if we did not see Mo Salah start tomorrow either against Sunderland. But of course, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments, because it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because look, you don't, like I said, don't really trash Mo, but against West Ham, we look better without him. And that is the annoying part of the minute, isn't it? But big up Ozan as well, saying big up the man Connor as well. Marnie scored against Sunderland in the 2-2. I remember that game, as well as Cal. I think Mo is mentally getting prepared to compete at AFCON. I believe he really wants to win it for Egypt. But it'd be interesting, wouldn't it? Because you've got a fairly good, decent amount of teams in there. I personally think Senegal is going to win it again. I wouldn't be surprised. Looking at their squads and looking at their team, yeah, it's a very competitive team. I think even at the World Cup could also be, a threat, really, or one of those like dark horse teams. We could end up seeing. Jen as well saying evening all. Mo will always be a legend, and I bet after he comes back, he will start as well. Well, that's the interesting one, isn't it? And probably the big question for tomorrow. Gomez was amazing. Well, not amazing. Awesome as well. He was. Look, I've seen people saying already, oh, you have to protect Joe Gomez. Like, no, play him. Like, how many times have we said, play Joe Gomez while he's fit? And you have to. There's no two ways of hiding around it. Joe Gomez gets injured quite a lot, in his Liverpool career. He's been here for over a decade, and, there's still multiple times where you go, oh, if we had Joe Gomez in that certain situation, and it's kind of frustrating. But I think Arne Slot mentioned it in terms of how we looked a bit more balanced with him in the team. And I got to agree. I think Liverpool defensively looked better. Going forward, we looked a bit better as well. I think the big, the big scenario of Liverpool in this game will be, how do you protect both Konate and Joe Gomez? Yeah, probably. If Liverpool are winning, let's say Liverpool are winning 3-0 with 60 minutes played, I think then there is the possibility Liverpool might, drop, a Gravenberch down into a centre-back role, maybe bring on Endo, a DM, and then obviously, maybe you do drop a Dom at right back, or even a Curtis at right back, and try and protect Joe Gomez, because he can't play three games a week. We know this. Arne Slot said last week that he had injections in his knee, and he wasn't even playing. So that's the situation Liverpool find themselves in, that we've got to be so careful with players that one little injury out to Konate or to Joe Gomez, you're back to square one. And then you're scratching your head yet again of who's going to be fit and available. I know that obviously Arne Slot mentioned that I think Conor Bradley could be back for Leeds, which would be good. But again, there's obviously different scenarios around it as well. But can't see Gomez as his saviour here. He's a centre back. I would agree with that, but I think the way you could play now is that you shift the three, in possession, in terms of Gomez, Konate, Van Dijk. You then allow Kirkes to bomb on, because I think Kirkes as well, I think his performance against West Ham got a little bit underrated in terms of, I think it was probably his best for Liverpool. I think, against Jarrod Bowen, thought he handled him very well. But again, can he do that more consistently? And so far, he hasn't done that for Liverpool. He's had one or two games where, look, he's very good, very good in certain elements, and then bad. But then he's not been consistent, and hopefully that'll be the case as well. But look, Liverpool should have signed a player that could be like Gomez, realistically, in the summer. They should have done. Whoever was on the market available at the time, they should have done that. And then we could have kind of then seen, the not so much inverted right back, but like kind of like a centre back inverted into a 3. That's what I would have liked to have seen. Maybe anyway, but I just hope Slot doesn't slot Szoboszlai right back like we did there, Ozan. But no, I like look. I don't think you do that to Dom now. I think we've seen point blank that Dom this season's been Liverpool's best player. And there's no question in my mind that Dom can play everywhere. Liverpool could ask him to play at left back and he'd be fine. But I think the bigger question mark for Liverpool is who plays alongside Gravenberch, because yes, I think Alexis McAllister had a very good game against West Ham, but I also look at it and go, I think you probably give Curtis Jones a run in that position that we kind of did. He kind of dropped the the DM next to Gravenberch a bit deeper, so obviously progress the ball a bit better and obviously break the lines. I think with Curtis Jones in that position, I think it would be a very good usage of him and a very good build up style that we could go and learn from. But I do think Curtis Jones probably comes into the midfield. I don't know about you guys, but I think in terms of starting 11 prediction, you probably try and stay as to what it was against West Ham, because again it worked and Liverpool looked decent. But I think you probably go Ali in goal again, Gomez, Canate, Van Dijk, and Kirkes again. You probably go Grav. I'd probably go Curtis Jones, and then Florian Wirtz, and then the front three. I don't really want to say Cody Gakpo, but Cody Gakpo. I don't really want to say Cody Gakpo, but Cody Gakpo, Alexander Isak, and Mohamed Salah. Is that the team that we all think should start? If it's not, to be fair, I've named the starting 11. I'm not but dominant. And that's the mad thing. But if it's not going to be Mo, it most likely is Dom. They'll probably be there. Or even, you do take Curtis Jones out and you put Dom a bit deeper so you can control the midfield a bit further on. But how far off is Szoboszlai future captain here after VVD? I think he will be the next captain. I think for me, Dominic Szoboszlai is the next Liverpool captain when Mo and Robbo and Verge does go. I wouldn't be surprised maybe next season. Andy Robertson's a bit of a difficult one at the moment, isn't it? Because I think he mentioned that he's not looking to get a new contract at the minute because there's no conversation around it. So there might be an opening there for a new contract a new captain, vice captain. So Dom, I think, would become that for Liverpool. I think this season he has shown captain ability. Really, when we talk about Steven Gerrard pulling, again, we talk about Steven Gerrard and he was captain fantastic for Liverpool throughout the years, and but people wouldn't say he was the captain of the team. Obviously Carragher and so on and other people. But for me, Dom this season has dragged Liverpool through games a little bit. We've seen the PSV game, we got battered that game, and then Dominic Szoboszlai was the standout between both of the teams. And that's unbelievable. The fact that I think everybody agreed that he was man of the match, even though Liverpool got battered 4-1. He was the only player that fought in that game. And he's done it many times for us this season. He's been the guy to look to pull Liverpool through games and even, try and help the players, try and press better and trying to improve better. I think Dom's been that guy for Liverpool, in my opinion anyway. I think he's really, really been fantastic for us. He's the ideal guy for me as well. Yeah, I would agree 100%. I hope FSG rewards his contract with the maximum salary he asks for. I think, Dom, I think the conversations around £200,000 per week, which to be fair, he's probably worth that. Let's not lie around it. How old is Dom? 25, 26? How old is? Hold on. I'm going to double check. How old is Dominic Szoboszlai? Dominic Szoboszlai. How old is he? 25, turns 26 in October next year. So yeah, I think he's 100% worth it. I know people will go, like, even looking at the Premier League stats, for example, 13 games, 1 goal, 1 assist. He has been way better than that. People will look at it and go, "Oh, well, he's not got the goals and assists." No, Dom has been unbelievable for Liverpool this season. Realistically, he should have 2 or 3 assists because of. Well, I don't think they classed the Newcastle one as an assist, but let's be honest, that was an assist for Dom at least, anyway. But no, look, I think for score predictions, I'm gonna go. What are we gonna go? Liverpool. I think for the West Ham, I went 2-1. Let's go 3-1 Liverpool. Why not? Even though Sunderland have been very good. Yeah, I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. Isak, Wirtz, and Mohamed Salah. Why not? I think, look, Florian Wirtz for me was the main standout against West Ham. Again, we did video on it as well, but I think if he can be the number 10 now for Liverpool and be the guy that can control everything in the middle, I think that's his best position. I think that's where you give him the freedom to be the conductor, really, of Liverpool's team and going backwards and forwards. I think him, Dom, Maka can also be there as well. I think they are the guys that, again, you surround Wirtz with them and the little link-up plays. I think 100% Florian Wirtz, you can get the best out of him, that you'll get a goal or assist. Because, again, he was unlucky not to get a goal involvement, I think, against West Ham. But for me, I think 3-1 Liverpool I'm going to go for anyway against Sunderland. But look, it'll be a tough game. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, we're going to absolute steamroll them, because, look, Sunderland have been good this season. But it's all about little steps now for Liverpool and trying to build up and trying to obviously keep the momentum going of obviously victory against West Ham, hopefully one then tomorrow, and obviously then Leeds is another confidence builder, because again, away to Leeds is difficult as well. So if Liverpool can get 6 points out of 6, I think it's the right notes then moving forward of what Liverpool need to do as well. But obviously the big one, like we mentioned, Mohamed Salah, will he start tomorrow? I think so, but I know plenty of people will have different opinions on it anyway. But I think we're going to leave it there for tonight, guys. Big thank you to everyone for tuning in to the live show. Like I said, we haven't really done a live show pretty much at all, over the last couple of weeks. So apologies for that. We've done a lot more pre-records, so hopefully you guys do like them as well. Hopefully you do like the shorts as well. Obviously, we're doing more of that type of content on the channel. Of course, we are still going to do lives, but obviously it depends on like times and obviously depending on certain situations as well. But hopefully we'll do a bit more live throughout weeks as well, because again, there is pretty much 3 games per week now until March. So games are coming in thick and fast, 100%. But hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Tuesdays anyway. Like I said, obviously the footy's on pretty much all over the places and over the next 2 days as well. But hopefully you guys have a good rest of your Tuesdays, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the post-match reaction for hopefully Liverpool beating Sunderland. Fingers crossed, at least anyway. But look, hopefully, like I said, you guys have a good day. I've been Connor from the COP Council. We'll see you guys a bit later on. Ta-ra.